we're close to an all-time high in gold. I would expect this year it's going to hit a new all-time high.
We're knocking on the door of a new all-time high for the price of gold. And you know what that means for the silver price as well. Even the mainstream media is picking up on it. Bloomberg News. I have a fascinating clip where they talk to the ex-chief investment officer from Bridgewater Capital. Do you know who Bridgewater is? Have you ever heard of Ray Dalio? The world's most successful, the world's top, the world's largest hedge fund. This woman served as the chief investment officer there for a number of years, and she has some very interesting things to say about gold. And again, by default, that's good for the silver price as well. But it gets even more fascinating when we dig into her background a little bit. You aren't going to believe what I discovered, and I'm going to share with you right now. It's not real often that we get to hear gold and silver featured in the mainstream media. So when Bloomberg News featured Rebecca Patterson, the ex-chief investment officer from Bridgewater Capital. Bridgewater Capital hires the smartest people, period. It's Ray Dalio's company, the world's biggest hedge fund, and she has some fascinating things to say about gold. We're going to perk up and listen. I have a couple minutes of the interview I want to share with you right now. Then we're going to talk about what she said, and I'm going to tell you what I discovered when I dug into her background a little bit, and that alone is absolutely astounding.
I love gold. I started researching gold in 1997 at JP Morgan, and then I got to trade gold during 08-09. So I've had an amazing education around gold, and gold is really complicated. I think the thing to note right now is you are seeing people saying, this is a very uncertain time. The war in Ukraine, the U.S.-China tensions, the debt ceiling, recession risk. I want to have something safe in my portfolio, even if it's only a 2 or 3% allocation. You are seeing investment demand. Turkey last year, huge investment demand, not shockingly, given what's going on with their currency and their inflation rate. The thing, though, I think is getting less attention and needs more attention is what's going on with the central banks. So you have cyclical supports for gold to the degree we have falling rate expectations, we have a falling dollar, we still have some inflation risk, uncertainty. But the structural support is the central banks. Central banks last year bought the most gold in 1 year that they've bought since the World Gold Council started tracking this in 1950. China in November and December alone bought, I believe I'm getting the number right, 62 million tons? I'm going to get the number wrong, so forget I said that. But look on World Gold Council's site. They track this stuff well. But I think the important thing is as the U.S. is maybe pushing away some of its previous friends, like they'll put it that way. There are central banks saying, how do I diversify? And Russia showed that diversifying into the Canadian dollar bonds or Australian dollar bonds, that's not good enough because they're going to work with the U.S. Gold gives them a little more room to maneuver. And so I think you're going to continue to see central bank support for gold in addition to the investment demand, jewelry demand. So we're close to an all-time high in gold. I would expect this year it's going to hit a new all-time high.
Does she strike you as one sharp cookie? Does she also strike you as somebody that most likely you don't want to be on her bad side? You don't want to be on her list? Maybe I'm spoiled. I live with the nicest woman in the world, my wife, Susie. Nonetheless, Rebecca had some interesting things to say about gold. Did you hear her that we could be heading to an all-time high this year? That the world's most sophisticated financial institutions, the world central banks, are all buying gold. And you know what that means for the silver price as well. Everybody seems to be filtering back to that good old reliable store of value, gold, gold, gold. There are two super interesting things about her background that as a gold and silver enthusiast are really going to knock your socks off. But first, thank you. It's a big deal you've decided to come join me here in the basement. It means the world to me. I hope you get some entertainment. What I really hope is you feel some camaraderie. We are a small sliver. We are the silver sliver, right? A small part of the population. We need to stick together. We need to help each other and support each other. Please consider subscribing. That's free. Leave a comment, and if you would, give the video a thumbs up. Now, let's talk about a couple things in Rebecca's background that you just might find very, very interesting. When you dig around a little in Rebecca's past, what you discover is that this fellow gold bug, this fellow gold enthusiast, Rebecca, she actually worked for J.P. Morgan for a while. She was a chief market strategist at J.P. Morgan. Yes, that J.P. Morgan, the one that is, let's just say, involved in the silver and gold space. Isn't that interesting? But it gets even better. First Mining Gold is a development company advancing two of the largest gold projects in Canada. Springpole in Ontario and Duparquet, located in Quebec, each already has 5 million ounces of gold reserves, but exploration initiatives are underway at both projects to find even more gold. First Mining is well-financed, has zero debt, and owns an interest in 4 additional Canadian gold development projects. Rebecca also has connections to the Federal Reserve. Yes, that Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, unicorn fart dust, money printing, electronic currency, this Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell. Remember, Jerome's in a box right now. He has a recession to deal with, and he has inflation to deal with. That's called stagflation. That puts Jerome in a very interesting position. And while I digress for just a few moments, let us remember that stagflation is the most fertile ground for the gold and silver price. Maybe Rebecca knows that. Maybe that's why Rebecca is calling for a new all-time high in gold. And you know what that'll do for the silver price as well. Rebecca's connection to the Federal Reserve, she served on the New York Federal Reserve's Foreign Exchange and Investor Advisory Committees. We're going to have a fun ride on the gold and silver price train. Isn't it interesting? We have a well-known financial figure talking on mainstream media, Bloomberg Business TV. She worked as the CIO at the world's most prestigious hedge fund. She worked at J.P. Morgan, and she's connected to the Federal Reserve. We'll welcome her on the train. It's going to be a fun ride. I'll be here for you through it all. Take care, and I'll see you next time.